This is the instructional how-to video for the Otho Chant concession trailer. I'm going to start with the operations, procedures, and shutdown procedures of your brand new concession. I've got your panel here. There's power cords going down through the floor, and it's plugged into my circuit breaker box, shore power plug itself. Got your foot flush toilet, automatic. Battery for the 12-volt lighting system in that corner here. You have your fuse panel for the 12-volt lights and your battery charger itself. You have your 100-amp panel, all 20-amp independent circuits. It's located right here. Got your light and your power roof fit on. Water pump switch located here. Hot water side, cold water side. Fresh water tank. That valve located there is for the blowout valve, or being able to winterize the system itself by hooking up the air compressor. Light above the restroom door. I've got this propane tank valve off. However, I have this valve on. So both of your tanks are empty at this moment, and I have a live tank located here. So the first thing you do is turn the valve on here. And on initial startup, obviously this valve is in the off position, meaning sideways with this line itself. So on initial startup, you want to make sure your equipment is in the off position and make sure the hood system is on. And when you turn this valve in line with this pipe here for the on position, you got to be very attentive to this actual regulator or the other regulator, whichever one it is. You should hear nothing more than the line charge itself, which is a simple ch, and that's it. If you hear continuous gas flow coming out of either one of the regulators at startup, immediately shut this valve off and have your local gas company come out and inspect the piping, because it does run down and hugs the frame of the trailer itself. So any road debris in transport, such as tires, blocks of wood, or rocks, could hit and break the pipe. And if you were going to find a leak on initial startup, you're going to find it at either one of the regulators. Again, noting that all of the equipment's in the off position, the hood system is in the on position, and when you turn this gas valve on, you should hear the line charge itself, and that's it. If you hear continuous gas flow coming out of either one of these regulators, immediately shut off the valves, call your local gas company to come out and inspect. We've got the water system for the restroom itself. This is the water fill for the non-pressure side for the tank in the restroom. If you want to run any bleach or sanitizer in this tank for cleaning purposes, you can do so. If you want to hook up fresh water, meaning pressure side, you can hook up your 3/4 inch garden hose to this side here. You can move this flap out of the way and allow that door to lock so nobody can tamper with it on this side. So this is the continuous water side, pressure side, and then we have your non-pressure side itself. You'll be able to see these lights on and functioning here on the passenger side. I'm going to grab my light tester itself. See the plug working. Got roller wheels here at the rear of the trailer to protect the back side of the trailer itself. Now if you plan on using the crank jacks, make sure that you scotch the tires on both sides so that the trailer cannot maneuver in any way. You will use a 3/4 inch impact gun on each one of the jacks and equally distribute the weight evenly for leveling purposes. Do not put full pressure on just one jack, trying to lift the trailer by one jack at a time. You want to independently distribute that between both of them. Go inside the trailer, we'll go ahead and go over the plugs. First, I'll step back. You should be able to see your concession trailer. So as we continue on, this is your inside light switch. These are your outside light switches. This is your exhaust fan switch for the hood system itself. We'll go ahead and start with the stop pot range itself. Again, as I'd mentioned, making sure that all of the equipment is in the off position and the hood system on before you ever turn the propane on. These are the control knobs I'm referring to. As you can see, they're in the off position and you have enough gas coming out, so small that you can light the pallets and still not hear it, which is perfect. That's what you want. You do not want any of the control knobs on. Again, you will take your lighter, light each one of those. Never force light. Force lighting, never turn these on so you know those pallets are actually going, as you will see there. Then you can rotate your control knobs to the on position. Now we have got the burner plate wire tied to the frame of the unit so it can't move in transport. Eventually, due to excessive heat, it will break. Simply replace with more metal wire for proper just safety, so you do not have this shift into transport. You do have a cleaning tray that you can definitely want to put in a safe location for transit, but you can wrap in aluminum foil for any drippings that fall outside from the pot itself. Same thing for the 4-burner hot plate. Off position for all of these, and lighting each one of the pallets at the back of each burner. Once you see that those are lit, then you have full control to turn to the desired temp that you need. You're going to see the same thing for these burners. They are metal banded or wired to the frame so that they do not move in transit. Due to excessive heat, they will break. Just make sure that you replace with more wire so that you do not have any worries of these shifting in transit itself. There is also a cleaning tray here. Same thing for any drippings that fall below. For the deep fryer, I'm going to go ahead and show you it in operation, and then I'll explain how to light everything. As you can see, the thermopile burning to the on position. At that point, you have full control for your thermostat itself. And because it requires 2 hands for lighting the deep fryer, that's why I always have it pre-lit before and then explain it. So this goes back to the off position, and on initial startup, this is how I always do it. turn this on and off twice, making sure that you can hear the clicking noise. What that clicking noise is making sure this thermostat connects with this gas valve. From transport, sometimes they can get out of sequence, so it's always imperative to do that on initial startup. You will rotate to where the L meets the red dot and allows you to push in. You're going to push in and hold here while administering fire to your thermopile with your lighter. Once that thermopile is lit, continue to hold this pilot button in place for 10 to 15 seconds. Once you can slowly release this pilot button and keep a good flame on your thermopile, then you can rotate to the on position. At that point, when you're ready, you can activate your thermostat to the desired temp for cooking product itself. Once finished for the end of the day, make sure that this is in the off position as well as this is in the off position. In the packet inside the fryer, there's a drain tube that threads into here, allows you to open up and dump the contents out of the vat before transportation each and every time, and also for cleaning purposes. I recommend having quite a few of these lighters on standby as well. Again, the paperwork and drain tube located here for that. Definitely there's manuals for all the equipment. Definitely take the time to read over those, study them, understand the cleaning and maintenance for your cook line equipment itself. Do want to go ahead and go over the hood system itself. So the filters are removable. You're going to need to clean these filters periodically. Depends on how much cooking you're doing and how much grease is in the air, but I would suggest every day, every other day, whichever works best. Again, they remove out. You'll see located here. Hot water and a mild degreaser or mild soap will allow that to clean and rinse. Make sure you allow ample time for these to air dry before going back in operation. One of the main purposes for having the hood system running is these heat sensors behind the filters. If you do not have the fan on, that heat builds up and trips that sensor. Everything that's in that tank, that red tank there, is going to come emitting out of these nozzles and shut your business down for about a week or two and cost about $2,000 for cleaning. Definitely makes a big mess. Also, when you put those filters back in place, you want to keep that gap to as minimal as possible so you do not have any grease blow by getting into the upper fan housing, which could potentially cause grease fire. Also, what grease doesn't collect is going to go to the drip rail and run down to the drip cup, which needs to be monitored daily. Your fire suppression system, once you get this trailer back to your state and county, you'll need to have a local fire suppression company and your local fire marshal come out and tag and certify the system. Again, this is an automatic system based upon the heat sensors if the fire was to get out of hand. Also, you can manually pull that, swing the lever, and set the system off also. If I could give any suggestions, obviously you want to have some fire extinguishers on board to minimize the cleanup and mess and being shut down for time, due to once this system goes off, everything that's in that tank is going to come out. There's no stopping it at that point. Your roof vents are able to be opened for allowing fresh air to come in for when the hood system is on. Make sure that you close those before transport. Make sure they're good and tight. Crosswinds can damage. You can run the AC if you got plenty of power to do so. Again, I've been running the AC for quite some time with all of the windows open and especially the door and the hood system on, and I do not feel any of the AC itself. So it's kind of pointless for the AC to be running when the hood system's on. ACs are more used for prep and cleanup. Also, your water pump switch is located here. We'll go ahead and read the thermostat temp for the water heater. So before I ever plug the water heater in itself, I made sure I had continuous water flow coming out of all hot water faucets. That way I knew that the water heater was full. 120 degrees and still climbing. Definitely be careful with the hot water. It is very hot. In the water heater located here, as you see the orange light indicating it's in the on position, and your plug for plugging it in itself. That water heater feeds your 3-bin sink, your hand wash sink in the kitchen, and as well as your hand wash sink in the restroom. Plenty of storage space also. Fresh water tank located here. Blowout valves and drain valves located there as well. For the flip-up counter on the rear wall, using the middle as a guide point, this screw, for an example, lifting up to where it's at a 90 degrees, and then slightly pulling a little bit more so that it will set the dowel pins on each arm to keep in a fixed position. When completed or finished, lifting back upward again allows those pins to roll again to then allow that to set to a downward position. Should I show these lights working? So for our waste drain valves, here on the driver's side, we have the kitchen one, and then we have the restroom itself. So you remove the cap, hook up your 3-inch RV waste hose. Once the hose is hooked up, then you can pull the gate valve pin and rid the contents out of the wastewater tank or the restroom tank itself. Make sure that you have an approved area for dumping the contents in. Once that is completed, shut that valve, remove your hose, put the cap back in place for transit. Then we have our city water fill box for the kitchen side. So this is the non-pressure side itself. Again, using your food grade water hose to fill up that fresh water tank. If you want to run any bleach or sanitizer, you can do so through this port here. If you are going to be a direct connection or direct hookup, you can hook up your food grade water hose to this inlet here, bypassing the tank and pump to have a pressurized service at that point. And lock that up. Go ahead and show this outlet here working. Perfect. Go ahead and turn off that water pump switch, as this no longer needed to be on. We'll go ahead and turn these switches off here as well. So for shutdown procedures, I'm going to turn that valve off and then turn the tank valve off. Never leave either one of them on. Again, when the business is closed or in transit, the gas always needs to be off. But again, on initial startup, the equipment's going to be off, the hood system's on. Turn this pin on, then at that point, when you open that, you're only listening, whichever regulator it is that is on your trailer, you're wanting to listen to make sure that you only hear that and that's it. If you hear continuous gas flow coming through, immediately shut off. Call your local gas company to come out and inspect the piping that's below the trailer, as something might have hit it. Alrighty, so as we start the wrap-up procedures for shutdown, obviously now you can turn the exhaust fan off itself. Want to make sure that you do rid the tank, the fryer tank, of the oil before transit. Make sure those burners are always strapped in place. Make sure that those drip pans are put in a safe location, and any contents that are in here that can move in a safe location. I want to make sure that we turn all of these light switches to the off position, and any loose items that are plugged in, disconnecting those also as well. The cable latch, can be disconnected for that door to shut, and as always, latch and lock for itself, putting the lock in here. If you did use the crank jacks, you want to make sure that you bring those jacks to an upright position for transit. Same thing with the flip up counter outside. Pressing upward in the middle allows that counter to fold back down to a resting position. And then the flip up door that covers the window, you want to latch and lock on both sides, and at least make sure that one side has a pin or a lock in it. As we always recommend, make sure that lug nuts are always tight. Make sure you have adequate air pressure in the tires. Once a year, you will need to apply grease to the grease fitting, or the zert fitting as they call it, behind this rubber cap to allow proper and long-lasting bearing life for each one of the wheels. And also you want to make sure that both blinkers, running lights, brake lights are always working for proper and safe measures for transportation. We thank you for taking the time to view this video. We make these videos to help educate the customer on their new product, to be able to show it to them obviously before they come in to get it, or if we are delivering it to them. If you do have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We thank you so much for your business and wish you the very best.